As a group, we chose to do a presentation in regard to the social problem of ableism. Ableism is the discrimination in favor of able-bodied people.
Disability takes many forms, including limitations in mental and physical functioning, speech, visual, and hearing acuity, and emotional well-being.
Disability is viewed as a function of the interrelationship between the individual and society.
Impairment is any loss or abnormality of psychological, physiological, or anatomical structure or function. This is a micro perspective.
Disability is defined as any restriction or lack of ability to perform any activity in the manner or within the range considered normal for a human being. Using our sociological imagination, this would fall under the macro perspective.
Canada defines equality under the Canadian Human Rights Act, passed in 1977. It says everyone has the right to equal chances to live the life that he or she is able to live and wishes to live. It goes on to say that discrimination does not come in the way of this human right for any of the following reasons.
Canada views disability through two separate models. At its core, the medical model of disability is centered on the dichotomous categories of disabled and the non-disabled. From the medical model perspective, the focus of the disability itself lies within the person. Treatment must be either rehabilitating such difficulties that are caused by the disability or curing the individual.
Opposing that is the social model, in which it is society that disables the physically impaired people. Disability is something imposed on top of our impairments by the way in which we are unnecessarily isolated and excluded from full participation in society. Disability, according to the social model, is merely an idea or social creation. There are impairments on a micro level. However, the macro inclusion of those with impairments, defined as disability, is a condition of both objective and subjective elements, located within descriptions, diagnoses, and treatments.
The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, also known as the DSM, defines common language and standard criteria for the classification of mental disorders. Past ignorance, intolerance, and prejudice led to concepts such as drapetomania and homosexuality. Today, these labels are considered irrelevant to the concept of disability, disorder, and are no longer located in the DSM.
An example of how the social model can be utilized is through the example of Martha's Vineyard. Because there were deaf members in virtually every family due to a hereditary gene in the western part of the island, everyone learned sign language, and the deaf were fully integrated into every aspect of life. Under these conditions, deafness is not a disability.
We believe that one of the key ways we can ameliorate this social problem is through education, by implementing mandatory teachings in school concerning inclusivity to break the barriers between being abled and disabled, can greatly impact our society when it comes to thinking of what it means to be a person with a disability. A big factor to learning and reshaping our views is realizing that being able-bodied isn't just about physical features or problems, but things we can't see as well. To break the barriers and become more inclusive as a society is the key. The strongest way to do this is to implement necessary schooling so that future generations can carry this idea forward.
When it comes down to the social model, society should implement certain things that we use in our day-to-day lives and alter them in order to help those who do have an impairment. Within institutions such as schools, homes, and workplaces, everyone is able to move within and around the building. Wheelchair accessibility would include some of the following: the application of wider entranceways, wheelchair accessible bathroom stalls, ramps, and elevators. Although these are only a few ways, there are so many more that we could and should be putting in place in order for all individuals to feel like they are not isolated, but included within society to travel around freely without assistance.
Marxist theory argues that those that own the means of production have agendas that serve to treat people as laborers first and human beings second. This productivist opinion only serves to introduce that the ability to work equates for the membership into the human race. Social justice to ensure the dignity of each and every person should be the goal, rather than buying into the largely capitalist introduced belief.
People with disabilities are often subject to marginalization and prejudice. One of the ways this happens is through the language we use every day. Often, a person with a disability is labeled as that being the most important characteristic of who they are. Using symbolic interactionist perspective, the label given to us equates to the manner in which people treat you and the way in which you think of yourself. Person-first language aims to use language that is respectful to those who may have disabilities and hopes to avoid social isolation and physical segregation. If we talk about a person as a person and not their disability, we can remove the barriers and separate those with disability from those without.